Hello everyone, I'm day weather meteorologist Don Day with your Public Lands Council weekly weather update. It's being brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors and WSR Insurance Services Incorporated. Well, after what has been a wild week of sharply colder Arctic conditions over a lot of the central and many areas of the northern plains, central and northern Rockies, we're now going to be looking at that Arctic air easing. What will be happening over the next week, most of the weather, the wet weather, will be along the west coast, California, Nevada, parts of Idaho, Arizona, New Mexico, the Pacific Northwest. Those areas going to see the best chance of rain and snow. That's where the focus of the weather is going to be. That Pacific air coming in with those Pacific storm systems will push warmer air into the west and alleviate the Arctic air. The bitter cold Arctic air will retreat to the east. This will give livestock interests a break from the severe cold and the bitter cold wind chills in a more moderate weather pattern. And the break from the cold should last over the next 7, probably 10 days or so before the weather starts to change on us again. Over the last 7 days, you can see across the Intermountain West, the snow picked up in the mountains and some snow on the plains with that Arctic outbreak. And you can really see that, boy, here over the last couple of weeks, a lot of snow in parts of the upper Midwest and many areas of the Corn Belt. But look at the mountain ranges of the western areas of the U.S. that really needed a boost in the snowpack. And as we'll show you here in a minute, you can see how much the snowpack has improved over the last week or two with this current change back to a colder, wintry weather pattern. And boy, speaking of wintry, these are the temperature anomalies for the last week. Look at that severe cold. A lot of these purple areas across Montana, the Dakotas, parts of Wyoming, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, we had temperatures more than 40 to 50 degrees below Fahrenheit, especially in this area of Montana and southern Canada right here. But of course, everybody really feeling the wrath of that cold air and the severe wind chills that went along with it. Now, speaking of snowpack, before we started to see this change in the weather, these are the snowpack figures for the 9th of January, before the weather started to change. You can see a lot of yellow and red and orange with far below average snowpacks. But over the last 2 weeks, this recent turn of events has really helped a lot. So you see less in the way of red and orange and more in the way of green and blue. The blue areas show where snowpacks are above average. And this area right here, we have a little pocket where the snowpack's been the heaviest. But big improvements have occurred in Colorado, parts of Wyoming, and Utah in this area here. And we've got snowpacks in northern New Mexico, western New Mexico right here that are doing good as well. But we have very poor snowpack in the far northern Rockies. And this will be a concern here and across portions of northern Wyoming as well. In an El Nino, which is what we're in right now, the northern Rockies, north of this line here, do tend to see below average snowpacks in a winter season, while the snowpacks tend to do better south of this line. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. And what we see over the next 7 to 10 days will be for these areas to pick up more snowpack. So we're going to see a better snowpack situation in a week or so once we take a look at next week's numbers with California's mountains getting into some better snowfall. As we get started in the forecast, this is where we're going to be this weekend. There's that rain and snow I talked about coming in along the west coast. High pressure brings warmer conditions to the nation's Rockies and adjacent high plains, but still very cold, wintry weather will be found in the Great Lakes, the Midwest, and the East, and you can just see that. These are the temperature anomalies here to start the weekend. Look at that cold over Iowa, Nebraska, down across parts of the south central and southeastern United States. Very cold, wintry conditions. However, notice across the west, along and west of the divide, the red areas representing where temperatures are going to be a little bit warmer because of that Pacific influence coming on in. By the week ahead, by next weekend, we see that high pressure is still over the west. The weather will be most unsettled in the Midwest. But throughout the next 7 days, the flow of air from the Pacific right up against the coast should produce some good precipitation. And there it is. Look at this from northwest Mexico, western New Mexico. Look at Arizona. This area along and west of this line, that Pacific moisture is going to bring needed rain and snow to California, Washington, and Oregon. Even some of that getting east of the Cascades into eastern Washington, eastern Oregon, into the Boise area, even Las Vegas, down into Phoenix and Tucson. Look wet in this pattern. Lesser amounts of snow along the divide, and east of the divide, we don't see much snow over the next 7 days east of the Rockies and onto the plains. And that shows up well in terms of where we're expecting the snow to be over the next week. Have yourself a great week ahead. Enjoy the break from the Arctic cold. We'll see you next week.